back on MorningLine. Our guest is Mark Cunningham. He's with the Beacon Center. They put together every year, I guess this is the 11th year, of the Pork Report in Tennessee, their take on where they think there's wasteful spending in government. And you would think these days with budgets as tight as they are, and let's face it, I think your Pork Report always finds items, but I think things compared to maybe 11 years ago when you started, there is less wasteful spending. Would you agree, in part because of your efforts, now than a decade ago, simply because things are tighter and things have been, you know, it's amazing to me there's still this much.
Yeah.
But would you think it's not quite what it once was? I can imagine in times gone by, man, there was some crazy stuff being spent.
Absolutely. I mean, it was $840 last year. It's $480 this year, so it almost cut in half from last year. And kind of the when you have stations like Channel 5, and I mean the internet's obviously spread. So basically, this pork that may have happened in the past is kind of being shown light on it, so people can say, "Oh, wow, I did not know this was happening." So ultimately, social media and a lot of these news outlets and our report have shed light where people are either embarrassed to keep doing this pork barrel spending, or they say, you know what, like it's just not worth putting our name through the mud. So it is getting better, but there's still, I mean, we want to get to the day where this will be on an index card, the Pork Report. But there's still a lot of examples, but it is getting better. I agree with you on that.
All right, let's go take a few calls just from folks who waited through the break. Lee, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. I
Hi,
haven't
Lee.
talked to you in a while.
Good to hear from you.
Well, two things I'd like to say. The Pork Report, I look at it this way. They need to be investigating a lot more than what they are. I appreciate what they're doing. There is a lot of wasteful spending here in Nashville. You know, I'm glad to see somebody taking time to step up and say, you know, I'm tired of seeing my money wasted for useless things. One time, I watched about $13 or $14 million worth of money wasted for a piece of Dolly Parton's rail ride for art. I mean, you know, to me, that's exactly what it is, a supplemental in the middle of one of our areas, but it means nothing to me to look at it. I mean, you know, that's wasteful. I mean, they could have built a statue, or they could build anything, but money wasting is, you know, is getting just intolerable with a lot of people, and then they holler they need more money for taxes and everything for this or that, and yet it's wasted. A lot of people working for Tennessee, they get free cars, they get free lunches, but they also get a salary which they need to be spending on their self, on the job, instead of the taxpayers paying for everything and wasting this money.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, for that reason, like what the Pork Report does. Now, and there's a line here. Now, you say you're nonpartisan, but I think most people, I don't know, you mentioned libertarian or something along those lines. You're not Republican or Democrat, but, you know, when it comes to spending and cutting government, that sounds more like a conservative point of view.
Sure. I mean, I think generally we are. I mean, we are more kind of on the right when it comes to cutting spending. But at the same time, when we work with Democrats on corporate welfare, getting rid of kind of money going to corporations. So I think it just depends on the issue. We kind of want to cut everywhere, and kind of Republicans seem to want to cut one place, Democrats want to cut others. So we want to cut all the wasteful spending.
Okay.
So I mean, ultimately, it's kind of we're kind of bipartisan in our hatred, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. And like I said, some of this stuff can be debatable one way or the other. Others very clear cut. I always wonder about this, the incentives, and it's glamorous to some degree to bring movies or TV shows to here. And the money, look at you rolling your eyes.
Yeah.
All right, and so let's just talk about Nashville, which was on another network and now was canceled and is going to survive at least for another season, I think on CMT or something like that. Now, Nashville came here, and you hear people say that, yeah, the Nashville show going nationally was never a huge hit, but it survived for 4 seasons. You know, helped put Nashville more on the map, people seeing the city, and it showed the Bluebird Cafe and other areas here, that it was a positive spin. But you mention it here as something where you feel you're not getting bang for the buck.
That's right. I mean, we spent $57 million of taxpayer money.
Over the 4 years?
Yes, over the 5 years now on the show Nashville. And to be clear, that's not a tax cut or anything like that. That is straight cash. And basically,
meaning that we paid them.
Yes, we gave them $56 million of just straight cash. No, I mean, there was no kind of strings attached or anything. and said, here you go. So, I mean, what they did was they hired a lot of out-of-state workers and brought them in here. And yeah, I mean, obviously the show Nashville brought some attention to the city. I mean, we're not arguing that. But ultimately, film incentives have a terrible return on investment. I mean, I guess the tax foundation said it's about 30 cents per dollar. And other big states like California are cutting down on their tax incentives for films because they realize it's not a good investment. So ultimately, this is one of the worst examples, I think, of government waste, because this is a show that was on the air for 4 years and got canceled. That means it couldn't survive even with our money. So it goes to CMT that has about 1/10 of the viewers of ABC, and we give them more money to be sandwiched between Larry the Cable Guy and episodes of Reba. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable that it goes to a much lesser network and we give them more money. I mean, I just don't understand where the line's going to be drawn at.
That is very interesting. I've always been fascinated by that, and I think you make a great point about California recognizing, and of course that's Hollywood, all right, and they're realizing they're not getting as much bang for their buck, and if any what place is, it's going to be that because it has the facilities. So as a result, I think some of these producers looking around not just to Tennessee but to other states to get folks who haven't come to that conclusion.
That's exactly right, and it's a hostage situation too. Ultimately, after season 2, they said we need more money from you, or we're going to move to Austin to film the show Nashville. That's what they said to them, and they said, okay, I guess we have to give you more money. So once you give them money, it's a hostage situation. So you know what, we need to give money, or we're going to go somewhere else, and that's what it is with all these corporations and again this TV show. So we can't. I mean, we're being taken hostage. We're just paying the ransom.
I don't know how long you've been with the Beacon, but going back, and it's over 10 years before I guess the Pork Report started. But a lot of people said at the time the money that was spent to attract Bud Adams and the Oilers here, which became the Tennessee Titans, and with that, I never thought that necessarily we were going to get the bang for our buck because of what we ended up giving them. Of course, we went to the Super Bowl there in the first 2 years, and that's huge publicity. And every time you're on Monday Night Football. But what do you think? I'm just curious after the fact. To me, it really didn't matter because I love sports, and if it meant paying something, I didn't care. But the bang for the buck to bring an NFL team or any professional franchise to a town. You guys have any thoughts on that?
We do have thoughts on that. We think it's a terrible idea. And I'm the biggest sports fan there is. I mean, but we actually have Nissan's field in here too because we paid $15 million to upgrade their seats. So the 3-win Titans, we could upgrade their seats if you can go. But
the seats that were empty for much of last year.
Exactly right. And I think that your point is good because I mean we both love football. It sounds like, but just because we love it doesn't mean the government should be spending money on it. And that's kind of where I had to kind of separate myself. I used to say, oh, that's great. I love watching football. I want to go to a Titans game. It can be a little cheaper for me to go. But ultimately, that's not the role of government. And they should be able to be profitable on their own without our help.
No, I agree. And brace yourself because I'm sure the Pork Report will be looking at it. They put those new seats in. But you know how old the stadium is now? I mean, it seems like it was built only yesterday. Really, time just flies.
Sure.
We're talking almost 20 years, and they're going to be wanting a new stadium.
I know. And we're going to be fighting against that hand and foot. We will not let that happen.
Yeah, and the reason we haven't heard anything about a new stadium yet is because the Titans have been awful. If all of a sudden they get good, you're going to all of a sudden, besides seeing the prices go up, you're going to all of a sudden start seeing or hearing the rumblings about, well, we're going to need a new team, new stadium for the team, or who knows? I don't know what the lease runs out on the Titans, or maybe we look elsewhere.
Yeah, we actually already heard that. They said probably 2 years they're going to be talking about that. Obviously, they got DeMarco Murray, they got Mariota now. I mean, they feel like they're going to be good this year. So once they're good, they're going to ask for money. That's
and when they get good, people will be more inclined to look at it. You ask for it after 2 wins and how lousy they've been the last couple of years, forget it. But they start winning, all of a sudden they start asking for the moon. We'll take a break. When we come back, more of your calls, and we'll continue more of our look at the Pork Report right after this.